All right, Long Range Planning Committee update. Mr. Henshaw. This is really what Jeremy's staying for, right?
Nope.
About junior high.
This is our update after our junior high meeting with the committee on facility planning for the next 10 years. And so that would take us to 2028, I guess. The timeline is we're moving through it. As you can see, our next meeting as a committee will be on the 8th at the middle school. And we'll tour that building and have discussions about the input that we've received on facility needs, possible facility needs at that campus. We'll also we're hoping to have some drawings back on some of the other items that we've discussed on at the previous meetings to present to the committee and just kind of give them a visual picture of some things that we've talked about. So on our last meeting, after the junior high meeting, the architects stayed that evening, and we had some tracing paper out and doing some drawings and some creative thinking, I think, on the Rolla Technical Institute and the high school and the junior high discussions that we've had. We may not have all those things ready for the committee on the 8th, but hopefully we'll have a few. And we'll continue to move on down the line and then make a presentation, hopefully, on the 10th of May to the board. And it'll just be a culmination of the things that the committee has put together. Again, not going to read all these. We've covered in the past updates, we've talked about the areas of discussion for the committee. You see transportation and Rolla Technical Institute here and some of the needs that we've been discussing. The high school facility, general classroom space, obviously after our most recent addition, has been addressed quite well, unless we see an explosion in population. That's always an issue. If that happens, it's a good thing if the community is growing fast, but currently it has not, and so it's just one of those things you have to have in the back of your mind that can happen. A couple other issues here. We've talked about space for band and vocal music for the classroom space. Definitely a need there, and storage, additional storage for them because of programming. It's just a program that's grown. Some discussion about the library as well. High school facilities continued here. Discussion of possible need of an auditorium. It was on the last plan, and we've had a really good discussion around multi-use space, I thought, on this, not just an auditorium, but areas that maybe could be flexible in some respects. And then discussion about a new gymnasium or field house, and so we talked about those things. Our last meeting was at the junior high. We did find that, for the most part, similar to the high school, general classroom space is in pretty good shape for the population that we currently have. For tested areas, we feel like we have identified some spaces that could be used, could be renovated or transferred. For example, a computer lab. Now that we're have a lot of Chromebooks on carts, we don't necessarily demand for a stationary computer classroom lab is not quite as necessary, so some of those could be changed if needed. However, there are, in the junior high, similar to the high school, there's some program needs that are maybe non-tested class areas. So classroom space for the band and vocal programs can be addressed there at the junior high. Also, construction or renovation of a classroom, if we were to move the band room, vocal music area to a new facility, then there was some discussion by our committee about could we use the current band area, vocal area to address some needs in physical education, weight training, aerobics, those type of curriculum areas that we currently do not cover at the junior high in our PE department. It is part of the curriculum, but we do not necessarily have facilities to address some of those things. Also, part of that discussion was the possibility of wrestling in that multi-purpose room at the junior high level. The last one as mentioned there was possibility of an additional gymnasium with concessions, public restrooms, as you can see. Our secondary gym in that facility does not allow for any seating at all. It was designed strictly for practice, and so it's kind of an area that might in the future be considered. Again, these are not recommendations tonight at all. It's just food for thought as you see what the committee is discussing. Our remaining input deadlines, Mark Twain is on the 13th, and then the 20th for Truman, and Wyman would be March 7th. And so there is a survey out there if folks want to go to that link and provide input about facilities, those 3 facilities, and it actually would allow you still to put some input in on other facilities as well if this is the first time a community member's hearing about it and wanted to. And we'll review all that information. So appreciate participation. We've really enjoyed, I've enjoyed meeting with building leadership teams, administrators. We're taking this input and we cover it with technology department and every staff member that's involved. So I think it's been a good process so far, and excited about some of the things that we're thinking about. Any questions?
Thank you. This was, I thought, an interesting tour. I had never really seen the, I don't know what you call that little courtyard area, the door to nowhere.
It's a it's an open courtyard in the junior high.
In the middle of the junior high, there's this like open space.
Outdoor classroom.
It's an outdoor classroom if you'd like to define it with the counselors, but
Also, at each of our buildings, I found it interesting because we've built in so many stages and phases that how many of these grade changes and up and anyway, you gotta watch where you're walking. But also at the junior high specifically, I didn't realize that gymnasium is not a full court legal or a high school, the regulation court. So just little things.
It was used as a lunchroom also when I was a student.
The gym.
the practice gym.
Yeah.
She's talking about the main floor and the main gym.
Oh, the main gym? It's not-
That decision was made,
So they could put stands on
they
both
put more
sides?
bleachers in, and so that was a choice that was made when those bleachers were installed years ago.
Used to just be bleachers on one side. You go
Correct.
over that.
So it's about 2.5 foot narrow. It's fair for everybody. And I've coached against people on much smaller courts. So anyway. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Okay, thank you.